Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Most stories typically start at the beginning, but this one will be more vivid if we skip straight to the conclusion. So here I am, sitting in a cafe with waffles at 2 p.m. 2 tables behind me, a group of women, probably working at some shady place, are once again complaining about their boss. Right in front of me, 3 other girls are comically struggling to finish their toast, while Gardy, the waitress, just refilled my glass of lemonade. Suddenly, a shadow fell over my table. "Well, Rob," I said sarcastically, "I was starting to wonder when you'd finally show up." Robert Murphy, my former father-in-law, stood before me. "Charlie, we need to talk," he said. Perfect. I had known Rob for over 15 years, and this was the first time I had ever seen him not in his usual form. Normally, he was the embodiment of confidence and authority, but now there was something vulnerable about him, something I needed to witness. "Sit down, Rob. You're scaring the girls." He sat down in the booth across from me. The girls around us exchanged surprised looks, clearly intrigued by the scene. Rob is an imposing figure, both mentally and physically. He owns the largest warehouse in the county and runs the only major transportation company in the region. 23 years ago, when the local economy collapsed, Rob stood firm, and people around here owe him not just their jobs, many owe him their homes, maybe even their lives. Oh, and did I mention he's 6'6" and built like he could still unload crates himself? Not someone to mess with. But here he was, sitting across from me, looking like a man defeated. He was in terrible shape, unshaven with deep shadows under his eyes. No doubt the Carnes were going through tough times. "Charlie, I know you're hurt, but can't you and Poppy just put this misunderstanding behind you?" A misunderstanding? My chest tightened, and I felt my heart pound as if it was about to explode. My palms were sweating, and I barely restrained myself from leaping across the table to grab him by the throat. I took a deep breath, reminding myself I wasn't here to fight. I was here to win. I paused to regain my composure, noticing that everyone else in the cafe was trying their best to pretend they weren't eavesdropping, though it was clear they were hanging on every word. Well, let them enjoy the show. "Okay, Rob," I said, keeping my voice calm but not lowering it. "Which part of this incident do you want me to forget?" "It was just that one time," he replied. "Wrong, Rob. It went on for years, and you know it." "She never did anything like that before. She never cheated," he insisted. "Really, Rob?" I smirked. "She's been playing me all along. Do you want me to lay it all out for you?" I reached for a roll. "When I first met her and asked for her number, she made sure I knew about all the guys who had chased after her, those who tried and those who succeeded. Why? What was the point of that?" "She was just trying to push you away, Charlie, but you—" "No," I interrupted, spreading apple jam on my toast. "She was testing if I'd fight for her, and like a fool I did. I gave her the attention she wanted." I took a bite and continued. "And then she brought me home to meet you. From the start, you hated me. You hated my politics. You hated my job. You hated everything about me. At first, I thought you were just a protective father, but soon I realized you genuinely despised me." I took another bite, enjoying the sweetness of the jam. Rob opened his mouth as if to say something, but then stopped. He couldn't deny it. We both knew I was right. "Despite all that, I kept trying. I wanted to prove to you that I was a good man, but it didn't matter. I was always told not to argue with you, just to nod and stay silent. Of course, that led to more than one heated argument between us. After everything fell apart, I sat silently while you showered me with insults. Can you recall even a single instance where I publicly humiliated you, argued with you in front of your friends, and came out on top? Of course not. That never happened. Honestly, I never aimed to win. What I truly wanted was for us to stay together. Did you ever wonder what she was really trying to achieve? Was this some sort of test to see how far I would bend?" I slowly took a sip of my drink, using the pause to glance at Rob. He clearly hadn't expected things to turn out this way. He wanted me to be broken, destroyed. That way, he could storm in, playing the part of the apologetic one, asking me to save my marriage. That was his plan. But do you want to know how things really turned out? She started reconnecting with her ex-boyfriends, insisting they were just friends. I held Rob back from stepping in to defend her. I knew she wasn't cheating, at least, not back then. After I dealt with Andrew for inappropriately touching her at the bar, everyone swore nothing more had happened. What was that incident even about? It was just another one of her manipulations. She wanted to see if it would make me jealous, to test how I would react to her hanging out with men from her past. Well, after that, we broke up. And honestly, the following 3 months were some of the best in my life. Let me be straight with you. I finished my cookie and brushed the crumbs off my hands. Rob was silent, perhaps finally realizing that she wasn't as innocent as he once thought. Or maybe he had known the truth all along, and that's why I acted the way I did. Either way, it shut him up. But here's what's interesting. I was stupid enough to let her convince me to take her back. That was when she stopped coming home late. She claimed she was doing it for me, to spend more time together. And for a while it seemed like things were really getting better. And then I made the mistake of proposing to her. I can't even tell you why I did it. I won the ring in some random jewelry contest. It didn't mean much to me, but I proposed anyway. And that's when things started to get weird. Out of nowhere, beautiful women started showing up around me, at work, at the gym, even while I was grocery shopping. They weren't just attractive. They were openly flirting with me, inviting me to lunch, and making no effort to hide their interest. Even Olivia got involved. One day, she cornered me in the supply closet and started unbuttoning her dress. She told me that underneath, she was completely naked. Every cell in my body screamed at me to look, but I resisted. I told everyone I was engaged, but it didn't stop them. Then came the wedding preparations, and I saw those same women again. They were her friends, her family, people she knew from school. Olivia even apologized, saying they were just testing me to make sure I wouldn't cheat on sweet, innocent Poppy. I guess I passed their little test, didn't I? But then, on the day of the wedding, came the final twist, the prenup. If I ever cheated on Poppy, I would leave with nothing. Funny, there wasn't a word about what would happen if she cheated. So I asked you, Rob, what happens if she cheats? Would I be able to leave? Would I be free? That was a red flag, and you knew it. Even your lawyer spelled it out for me. If she cheats, I get $50,000, my clothes, my car, and the small house my grandparents left me. I leaned in closer to Rob. But I signed it, Rob. You remember, don't you? I signed. And then, last Saturday, what the hell happened? I was called in to cover an 8-hour shift for someone because, in their infinite wisdom, they decided that a day at the amusement park was more important than work. So there I was, slogging through a grueling day for them. But it turned out that wasn't even the worst part of that day. And then there was Rob. But that's another story. When I finally made it home, completely exhausted, I couldn't even park in my own driveway. My usual parking spot, taken by someone else. I paused for a moment, though not in the way you might expect. At first, I thought maybe one of the neighbors parked there. I figured Poppy hadn't asked them to move the car. I headed towards the house and saw her car calmly sitting in its place. But where was Poppy? She was nowhere to be seen. I called out, "Poppy?" Her voice came from the bedroom. "I'm here." Naively, I went upstairs, ready to ask her about the car, but what I saw instead, I couldn't have even imagined. There she was, Poppy, in our bed, my bed, embracing another man. For a moment, I froze in shock, stunned. Then I exploded. What the hell is going on? It sounds absurd now, but at that moment, I simply couldn't believe it. She had the nerve to say, "Oh, darling, I love you, but I need more than what you can give." She actually had the audacity to tell me not to worry, that she would still sleep with me. "It's just physical," she said, as if that solved everything. "It doesn't change anything between us." I couldn't process the nonsense coming out of her mouth. And the guy? He just sat there unbothered. My wife was literally moaning next to him, and I stood there seething with rage. And then she took it even further. "Honey, could you bring us something to drink?" That snapped me out of my shock in an instant. "You want me to bring drinks for the two of you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She smiled, perfectly calm, and said, "Yes, please. Something from your stash of beer." That was it. I was done. "Get it yourself," I hissed, barely containing my anger. "You want a drink? Get it yourself." She muttered something like, "Oh, don't be like that," as if I was overreacting. I lost control. "Shut up. This is what you wanted? Fine, enjoy it. But don't forget what we agreed to before the wedding. No cheating." The guy next to her started looking uncomfortable, probably realizing he'd gotten himself into trouble. "Hey, man," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "It's not that bad. You're still getting plenty. 4 or 5 nights a week, no problem. You've got this great house and everything. Just roll with it." That was the limit. I stepped closer, leaned in, and hissed, "Say that again, and you'll be eating through a straw for the rest of your life." He recoiled so quickly it made me laugh. "I'm leaving you the house," I spat. "I'm out of here." And I turned and walked out of the room. Of course, as I was leaving, I ran into Matthew, her son from her first marriage, their whole sick, dysfunctional family. He was standing there like he was going to step in and smooth things over. "Charlie, wait," he said, trying to sound reasonable. "This isn't like you." "Go to hell," I snapped, fed up. "What are you even doing here?" I didn't wait for an answer. "Forget it. I'm leaving. Get out of my way." I tried to walk past, but that idiot grabbed my arm. And if there's one thing I can't stand, it's Matthew. So when he grabbed me, I did what anyone in my position would do. I hit him. One precise blow to the neck. If you've ever been hit there, you know that's the end of it. He went down, gasping, and I didn't feel the slightest bit guilty. I headed straight to the bedroom, grabbed my hiking backpack, stuffed my things into it, and made for the door. As I was leaving, I heard someone's voice behind me. "Matthew's feeling better, Charlie." But I was already too far gone. I hope this translation meets your expectations and accurately conveys the emotions and events from the original text. The doctors say his recovery is going well, and that should bring some relief. But does it really matter anymore? I absent-mindedly pushed my toast around the plate, lost in my thoughts. What was I even talking about just now? Oh yes, Poppy had stormed out of the house just as I was about to leave. She was still in her robe, waving her arms and screaming like a madwoman. At least she managed to make the bed. But now where would I stay? Well, that wasn't a problem. I still had my old apartment. I had just finished the renovations. I hadn't found a tenant yet, so the apartment was empty. Perfect. On Sunday, I went back to grab my things. The neighborhood was strangely quiet. Maybe everyone was at church, or maybe it was just a coincidence. I didn't know. I gathered up my clothes and a few essentials, then swung by the furniture store to buy a bed. Sleeping on the hardwood floor wasn't an option. As I was drinking water, faint laughter still echoed in my head. And guess who was waiting for me when I returned? Yep, your precious little daughter. The bed could wait in the truck. It was all I had at the time. I parked, walked up to the door, and then I heard her. "Charlie, Charlie." She was yelling, racing toward me from her car like her life depended on it. "Wait, please, we need to talk. I can explain everything," she shouted. At that moment, I walked inside. She banged on the door, rang the bell, tried everything she could think of. But there was nothing left for me to hear. She had brought another man into my bed. End of story. So what did I do? Did I open the door and yell at her? No. Call the police? Not even close. Sneak out through the back door? No way. Instead, I put on my headphones, grabbed a magazine, and shut everything out. Eventually, the police arrived and told her she had to leave. They knocked a few times before I opened the door. Once I saw the flashing lights, I had no other choice. There was no drama on my part. The house was in my name, and I had every right to be there. So they took her away. If it had been someone else, they might have ended up in a holding cell. But since it's your little girl, she got off easy. Rob shifted nervously as Hardy placed a cup of coffee in front of him. It felt strange for him to be in this position. He was usually the one in control, making decisions. But now the tables had turned, and I was the one steering the ship. On Monday, I went to the bank and withdrew $50,000. I also canceled all the joint credit cards, though I hardly used them. After that, I tidied up the house and headed to an interview with a well-known company. They had been trying to recruit me for a while, but I always declined because Poppy thought it was too risky. But when I approached them myself, they made me a good offer, and I accepted. Later, I went to work and headed straight to my boss's office. "Eric, I need to tell you something. I'm quitting," I said. He looked at me with genuine surprise. "Why? I thought you were happy here." "I hate it," I admitted. "You're a good boss, but I didn't go to university just to end up a clerk. Plus, I found out my wife's been cheating on me and I need a fresh start." "Wow, Poppy did that? I don't want to lose you. Is there anything I can do to make you stay?" he asked. "Eric, I'm truly sorry. There's no other way to handle this situation. I appreciate everything you've done for me." When I was leaving the office, my eyes accidentally fell on his secretary. She was sitting there, perfectly groomed, chatting on the phone. She had this sweet, innocent look, but I felt like she was quietly passing along the gossip she'd overheard in the office. You can tell right away she's the type who thrives on sharing juicy news with someone else. Then I headed to Mrs. Byrne. She's a real force of nature, isn't she? I know her assistant is handling my divorce, but I wasn't there just for that. Others were hoping that Poppy wouldn't get the divorce papers at work on Tuesday. Yesterday, they pestered me non-stop, trying to convince me to talk to her after she received the papers. And today was the same, but I ignored them and left. "It seems like your people were watching me, observing where I parked. Did you think you could somehow fix what was broken between Poppy and me? Tell me, Rob, what's going on? Was she having fun with someone else in the bed where we once slept together? Let's be serious, Rob. Why did she cheat?" I had two options: leave or confront her face to face. Honestly, she probably would have liked it more if I'd caught them. Maybe if I'd wanted her more, she would have been satisfied. I admit I fantasized a lot. The excitement was all in making her want me so badly she couldn't resist. But Poppy? She never cared about the small things. Love notes, calls during the day, surprise lunches, or thoughtful gifts. To her, it was all just unnecessary stuff, a waste of resources. Maybe she was trying to get back at me. She thought I'd cheated. But no, hold on. That never happened. I didn't betray her, neither when we were dating nor after we got married. That's the truth. Oh, maybe my bachelor party drove her crazy. She wanted revenge for that, just because I spent most of the night talking with Emily and Matthew after their argument. But why did she cheat? And what was her plan to fix everything? I tried everything, emotionally, physically. I gave her everything I could. Was it just another test? Maybe it was her way of finding out if I truly loved her, or if I only wanted her money. The same money you're investing in her edible flowers business. Maybe she wanted me to catch them, lose control, attack the guy, or run away. That would explain Matthew's presence. He was probably there to make sure I didn't do something I'd regret later. Or maybe he was there to ensure I wouldn't leave, so Poppy could take comfort in knowing I still loved her. If I'd been with her for the money, I wouldn't have cared that she cheated. But that's not me, Rob. I didn't play that game. I put up with your family for 15 years, went through every challenge you threw at me. And what did I get in return? Trust, affection, respect? Nothing. Every day when I came home, there were new difficulties waiting for me. In the end, you started to understand, Rob. You saw the cracks in our marriage, too. Couldn't you see if there was anything that could be done to save it? You practically begged me. I know Poppy loves you. But Rob, does she really? I'm completely drained, friend. I've got nothing left. At that moment, the door of the Waffle Cafe swung open. Rob, I don't know how you raised her this way, but I can't keep going. She'll never change. She needs someone who constantly reassures her that she's needed. And I don't have the strength for that anymore. She's pushed me to my limit. Once, I loved her, Rob, but she killed that love. I hope you're all satisfied. I stood up, and Rob didn't move. As I grabbed my jacket, I saw Poppy at the counter. She must have overheard my last words. She must have just come in. Our eyes met, and I saw the tears welling up in her eyes, her lips trembling, but I felt nothing. I pulled 2 bills from my pocket, placed them on the table, and walked away from that terrible family. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.